This is The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield from the Lynn Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Michael provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is The Wealth Puzzle with Mike Mansfield. I'm copying the intro. And Tana Pennington. Tana, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I noticed in the intro, I talk a lot with my hands. I don't know if I've ever noticed that before, but I was watching it and being like, geez, I'm one of those hands people. So next step is you move it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, life is about progressing. So now that I've identified that, I'm going to
You move on. Yes.
But hey, like all of our listeners, we got a lot of people that tune into the podcast. Certainly, we've been turning these into videos. So we ask everyone to subscribe on YouTube or on Rumble. Please check out the show. They're so much funner because we pull up the little articles. I'm talking with my hands. Oh, I'm doing it again. I can't do it. Should I
just sit on them? Yeah, just sit on your hands.
All right. Here we go. This is terrible.
Now you're even taller.
I'm taller. What's that supposed to mean?
I'm just kidding because you sat on your hands.
I'm short. Jeez Louise. So anyways, appreciate all of our viewers, all of our listeners. I am cleanly shaven this week because for Halloween,
nice.
It was kind of a goth style. And it turns out when you're kind of painting your face white, if you got that stubble, it doesn't work really well. So we had to tighten it up.
I love it.
Did you dress up for Halloween?
No. I know. I just handed out candy. It was fun. It was fun to see everybody come to the...
I still have trick-or-treating kids. So it's that's what's funny with the evolution of technology is I've got, like a ring doorbell kind of thing. And so, as I'm walking through the neighborhood trick-or-treating, my doorbell thing is just blowing up on my phone. Everyone's ringing the ring doorbell.
But it's good to hear that everybody was out.
Oh, it was awesome. There was hundreds of kids. So we live in a pretty busy neighborhood over here by the office. There's just kids everywhere. The streets full of people. It was cool. It was back to normal.
Yeah, I love that.
Normal.
I know. I love it.
So dangerous. It was a super spreader event on Vernon Street. So anyway, very tragic. Anyways, Tana, I don't know. What are we going to talk about? You said that you wanted to mention something about Medicare. What Medicare tantalizing information do you have for us?
Yeah. So as I'm running quotes for people for their prescription drug plans, so there are some medications that people are on that are brand name. Ooh. And so there's no generic yet on the market. They're expensive. And then a lot of times, the Medicare prescription drug plan doesn't even cover it. And so I would just recommend look into the manufacturer. The manufacturer offers grant programs sometimes. And yes, they are income-based, but I've been surprised with the clients that have been able to get accepted into this grant program for different medications through the manufacturer. And then they get their medication for free. So it's pretty amazing.
Weird. So what do you just go the main website for that medication? And
for the manufacturer of that particular medication. And then they have a grant program. And then you fill out the application, submit it, and see what happens. And it doesn't hurt to try.
Okay, that's fun facts.
Yeah,
and those are the things we're looking for. The other fun fact too, when you're talking about prescription meds with Medicare, is if you were in the military, I think you can use the VA for your prescription drug plan.
Good point.
Everybody knows that.
Nope, that is an absolute good point. You don't even have, you don't have to enroll in a prescription drug plan and pay an additional monthly premium. And then a lot of times your copays are very low if you're getting them through the VA.
Awesome.
Yeah. So another great way to save money.
Thank you for your public service announcement. If you have questions about Medicare, call Tana 805-500-7035. Medicare to you. I popped something up on the screen. I'm gonna take it off for a second. I'm gonna make fun of Medicare for just 1 second longer. I've been watching the commercials every day. Now that we're in open enrollment, all the commercials are on the TV, and the commercials are just they're exhausting because I feel like they're just so full of BS.
Well, that's a good point.
Just really, the way they make it sound is oh my gosh, you call us and you're gonna win a new car. It's like Publishers Clearinghouse.
It's
And
true.
somehow they know the secret. And if you call us, you're going to secretly get back $150 a month on your Social Security check. And the reality is, it's a commercial.
There are some plans offered out there, but again, it's based on zip code. So you might be watching cable TV, and so it's not that particular plan isn't even available in Ventura County. Or that's the other kicker is, there's extra benefits built into some of these plans, but if you're willing to go on a Medicare Advantage plan, which is an HMO, then exactly. So it's not as great as it always sounds.
Well, it's funny how scammy they are too. Like they'll I'm talking my hands. I gotta be careful. I should wear black gloves. That way it would have blended in with me. No one would know, and then I could feel comfortable.
That's a great idea.
But they'll find you'll see a commercial and be like, oh, did you know that if you're a Medicare recipient, you can receive a free knee brace? And so what they've done is they've gone into the Medicare codes and figured out, oh, hey, we can get that for free. But it's not it might be free to you, but they're going through your Medicare and charging them, and probably making $6,000 on every knee brace that they hand out to you.
Yeah.
Gosh, this world
kind of smells like fraud to me.
Hey, this is capitalism. Anyways, all right. I popped something up here on the screen. Let me make it a little bigger here. Whoops, I always do that. I make my screen bigger, not the thing everyone's looking at. Boop, boop, boop. I thought this was interesting. So I follow a bunch of economic blogs, and they're fun and they're interesting. But I just saw this one paragraph, and I thought, gosh, how telling is that from a spending standpoint? When the U.S. fell into the COVID crisis, the federal government went on a massive spending binge. So pre-COVID, so when you looked at the 12 months of spending prior to COVID, so from March 2019 to March 2020, the federal government spent $4.6 trillion. That was the budget for the year. You can see on here, they outline it by also how much of the GDP it was. So it was a little over 20% of the GDP. Between March 2020 and March 2021, they spent $7.6 trillion. I mean, they basically doubled it. It's a huge number, right?
Wow.
36% of our GDP was spent. Outside of wartime, we know of no other time when the government has ramped up spending that much or that fast. As a result, though, the money was easy. And then we get to the theme of inflation, right? Why do we have inflation? Well, when the government prints a boatload of money, they put money in circulation, they challenge the supply chain, they challenge the labor market. All of a sudden, we have inflation. It's not a mystery. It's not magical. You can't give money to people and have more dollars chasing less goods without seeing prices skyrocketing. I mean, the energy market just keeps doing it, right? They're batting 1,000 right now. Oil basically just hit almost $85 a barrel.
Wow.
Look at my hands. Everyone look at my eyes. Don't look at my hands. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. Can't see what I'm doing. And it's funny because I was down Victoria at the bottom of Victoria last week, and I paid $5.05 a gallon for gas. And, because I went to Chevron because I'm snooty like that, because they got that Techron in your gas, man. They say that's good for your car, So I'm like, my car, I love my car. So I give a Techron, just like I feed my baby filet mignon. No, I'm just kidding. But but then on the corner at 76 this morning, I was sitting at the red light taking my kids to school, and I realized that, suddenly 76 stations catching up. They're at $4.99 this morning. So we're probably right about to break over that $5 bill at the old 76 station. So, it's just amazing to see how the costs are going up, right? Food costs are up, housing costs up huge. At this point, housing is up 20% year over year. It's incredible.
Yeah, we have a client that actually was involved in a new build to build a new home out in Camarillo. And she said that it just skyrocketed from when they first talked about doing it to actually being willing to write the check for like a down payment, and then they backed out.
Yeah, I've heard of people where when you buy the new houses, they're not even finalizing the prices now. You're just going under
good
contract because
you're
desperate for the house. But because they're scared the cost could vary 20, 30%, they ain't putting it to a piece of paper just yet.
And that was her frustration, is they weren't really being forthcoming with costs. So she was just like, I'm out.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So we've had a lot of issues. It's interesting to see how those impact the individuals. I guess the positive impact for an individual is inflation is good for cost of living adjustments on Social Security. So we're about to have the highest cost of living adjustment on the old Sochmagosh in almost 40 years.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's ironic, right?
Crazy.
Because it's take from one person, give to another.
Right.
So all of our clients, they get a pay increase on Social Security, and Tana and I's taxes are going up. So we're so
We take a pay cut.
we're happy to help. We're happy to help. happy, you know, I'm happy. It's not like I have 4 kids, you know. All right, so hey, I popped up. So we just went through an interesting third quarter. When it comes to the GDP for the country, it was a low third quarter, certainly well below what it should have been. You know, it looks like our third quarter GDP is going to be right around 2% somewhere. That is pathetic. That is anemic. That should have never happened. I'm going to point the ugly finger at governmental policy. Absolutely. They restricted the labor market. They kept people out of the market. They didn't encourage people to go back to work. They kept federal subsidies in place too long. Vaccine mandates. They've done all of these things that have hindered the labor market. That have
good point.
Clouded the supply chain stuff. It all leads back to inflation, and it all leads back to kind of a weak economy. Well, the good news is some of that stuff is expiring. So the federal subsidies expired in September. So I'm hoping pretty quickly here when the October numbers come out for jobs, it looks way better than it did in September, just by default. But I went over to Mr. Atlanta Federal Reserve website. We've got this, you know, the GDP website we talk about. They use high frequency data. They're trying to track real-time GDP. And even though we're only moments into the fourth quarter here, really, you know, we're just a little ways through it, we're looking so far, they've got it at 6.6% GDP. So it's better. You know, it's not what it should be, but you know, it's a heck of a lot better. You know, if the feds can just sit on their hands, as Tana told me I have to, and not encourage people not to work, that will help the GDP improve. That will help the labor market to improve. All of these things are kind of grinding forward. Remember, you know, and I don't want to be political. Our job is to talk about retirement income planning, but the vaccine's been available to everybody since like the first quarter or something. There's no excuse at this point to keep using that as a reason to stay out of work. If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your problem. You know, it's like not wearing your seatbelt if you want to go through the windshield. But the reality is we need to get people back to work. Everyone has the opportunity to have a shot if they would like one. Therefore, life needs to move on at some point. You know, we're teasing. What are we teasing into this, Tana? We're almost 2 years into this chaos.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have trashed the economy. We have trashed small businesses. We've trashed a lot of things that are impactful to a lot of people. And we just need to get the party going again. And remember, all of these things are good for the retirees. We want a healthy, good economy because, you know, it's like fear mongering, right? How many questions do we get, Tana, about people saying, is Social Security going to go belly up? And what am I going to do? Well, I'll tell you what, the longer that we let our economy and labor market be destroyed, the more likely those conversations could become.
Right.
You know, I mean,
no, good point.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
We got to kind of get back to some normalcy. So run out and get your shots and get back to work. It's like a puppy. You got a new puppy. It has to get its shots before it can go play with all the other puppies. There you go. We finally figured it out.
Oh, that was simple.
But the debt is, you know, just spiraling out of control, right? So, and this goes back to that theme of inflation, right? Inflation is good for your Social Security check, but guess what? You're also on a fixed income, and the reason your Social Security check went up is because all of your costs went up. So the Social Security cost of living adjustment is cute and smiley and fun to talk about, but it really is not very impactful for a lot of people because it means you're still paying $5 gas. You still have to buy food, and you know, still have to pay rent and all of these things. You're getting hammered everywhere you look. You know, I like living on this website that's on, if you're watching the show, usdebtclock.org, goes through what's our national debt. You know, what is our basically our budget deficit at this point. At the moment, it's kind of right, kind of the middle of the page, but 2.8 million is the upside down bill. This isn't even including all the spending that we're trying to pass, right? We've got an infrastructure bill we're trying to pass. We've got what is it called? The bill. Is it Build Back Better? Is that right? Build Back Better? I don't know. The Build Back Better plan, which is spend a ton of money plan. We're not really, you know, I mean, when you think about government fiscal responsibility, you should think about your own finances for 2 seconds. Tana, if you had $200,000 on your credit cards and you wanted to go buy a Ferrari, Tana, do you think you should run out and buy the Ferrari?
No.
Right now?
I shouldn't have $200,000 on credit card.
Why not?
Because that's
that's how we do.
That's insane.
That's how we do it. You know, our credit card, our current credit card for the country is almost 30 trillion.
Wow.
You know, and that's just the current credit card. Don't get me in unfunded, all the promises we've made to put on the credit card.
Right. Yeah, good point.
And then we get into spending. Tana, let me ask you another quiz question. If you had $100,000 in bills every year, excuse me, let me ask you differently. If you made $50,000 a year, should you rack up $100,000 a year in bills?
No, definitely not. You should live within your means.
So confused, because if I was to follow the government, they would say that I'm allowed to spend twice as much this year as I make. No?
No, not a good idea.
Okay, whatever. You stink. This is why you're not allowed to run the government. You're not,
right?
You're obviously not qualified.
So true.
But, you know, it kind of goes back to this theme, though, that we already have these huge fiscal issues. They're already manifesting. Guess what, everybody? That's what this inflation is all about. It's the manifestation of all of our fiscal mess we're creating. And so how do we propose spending trillions of more dollars when we're already upside down on trillions of dollars? It's crazy. You know, it's ironic that a lot of this is coming down to maybe something like the governor race in Virginia. You know, everything's politics when it comes to fiscal responsibility. And it's amazing. Anyone ever been to this boring old website, realclearpolitics.com? It's kind of a fun. Oh, I lost. Hang on. My lights went up. I gotta stand up. Oh, they're back. I'm back. See, maybe that's why it's good I talk with my hands, because it keeps my lights on in the office. So here we have it. You go to Real Clear Politics. What they do is they average all of the polling data. If we've learned anything about, I think, politics, is polling data is terrible. But what's interesting is the conservative dude, Youngkin. I don't know how to say his name. Is it Young and then Kin? I don't know. Anyways,
Youngkin.
You know, at the moment he's leading, and normally this would not be the case in Virginia, but it has a lot to do with fiscal responsibility, and it sounds like a lot to do with just local politics when it comes to schooling and children and all kinds of fun stuff. But it's interesting that this race might dictate how some of this federal spending happens very quickly, because if this race doesn't go in the favor of how the current government policies look, a lot of the government leaders who are up for re-election, you know, next year and things like that might all start saying, I better be really careful about
that's a good point.
Responsibility,
right?
Because that could become problematic. Now, it's ironic, though, because once again, everything boils down to politics, but the reality is certain things are good for the consumer. I think a good, healthy economy is good for the consumer. It's good for retirement planning. We want you to live in a world where costs are controlled. We want you to live in a world where you know that there's a sense of stability with the things you're doing. See, if inflation starts to bounce around between 5 and 10% a year for the next number of years, well, how do you control that if you're on a fixed income as a retiree? It's very difficult, right? Because you said, oh my gosh, I built my income plan with a 2% inflation rate. I built my income plan on the premise that tax policy doesn't change. I built, you know, all of these things. And so it becomes very hard to make good informed decisions with how you should spend your money and what you should reserve for and what you should be doing. I think there's ironies here, right? One irony that Tana and I were talking about is that inflation it appears is very good for the stock market. And that's because where do you put your money, right? You know, if you're scared of inflation, should you put it in cash, Tana?
No.
Tana actually does actual just money, all right? Don't you have just cash piles of it?
Of course. Money bags.
I heard you made like a bed out of it. Your couch is made out of stacks of honeys.
No.
And you're actually sitting on it. We just can't see it because you're sitting on it right now. That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. Not around here.
You know, but that's tough, because where do you put money when you're concerned about high inflation? It's hard to have it in cash. It's hard to have it in a CD. It's hard to have it in bonds. You start to run out of asset classes very quickly in this conversation. You know, it used to be that real estate was a strong asset class, but COVID already played out real estate before inflation hit. So all of a sudden you got the old stock market. So, you know, kind of to that point, remember weeks ago, Tana mocked me after our show. Weeks ago, I said, I see the S&P hitting at least 4,800 by the end of the year. And at the time, the S&P was at about 4,300. And when we hung up the show, Tana said, "You're just an idiot." And the fact that
I
you say
did
that
not.
stuff on a recorded thing
Right?
is foolish.
Could get me in trouble.
She said that I should set everyone's bars really low. That way it's easier to hit instead of the high bar. And it's amazing to me that here we are. It's November 1st, and what's happened in the old stock market? It's been creeping. Let's see where it's at this morning.
Mm-hmm.
The S&P is over 4,600. Well, that's weird. A hop, skip, and a jump, and we'll be right where I said. And I hope that's true. But like I said, I think that plays a lot to the potential expansion of government subsidies expiring, forcing people back into the labor market, creating a stronger GDP, coupled by high inflation, forcing people to keep investments inside the stock market. It's a perfect storm right now of driving markets up. Does that mean the market doesn't go down tomorrow? No. Anything can drive the market down. You can have any whiff of bad news. If the COVID thing gets back out of control, if the government shuts down again, if I always like to say, if North Korea decides to throw a nuke at us, whatever the thing is, we're always looking for some volatility. Tana, besides the Medicare thing, you've been so quiet today.
I'm sorry. I'm actually kind of tired from the weekend, I think.
You look like you're reading. Are you just online looking at Instagram or something?
No, I'm not.
From the weekend, you should be all charged up eating Halloween candy.
Not good. Not good.
I was listening to the radio the other day, and they were saying the number one worst candy for you is gummies.
Oh, why?
Because it's chewy, so you chew on it the longest, and because it's gummy, it stays on your teeth the longest.
Oh.
And then they said the second worst thing was anything with caramel. Kind of the same deal.
Well, my favorite is Twix, so
I like a Twix too.
The caramel is so yummy.
I like gummy stuff too, though. So I don't know. Yeah, I know I ate quite a few Twix last night. So anyways, by the time most of you are seeing this, the governor's race in Virginia will be over. No matter who wins, it will be contested because there's no such thing as a result. Everyone will fight and scream and hoot and holler. But
it's going to be interesting.
In any case, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, for me, it's how does all of this stuff boil back down into my client's interest, right? And how do you take something specific as the Virginia race and then tie that into government policy and then tie that into fiscal policy and then tie that back into inflation in the stock market and tie that into my clients trying to live on a pension and a social security check? Did I string that together well enough?
Yes.
So it's all based on the governor race now all of a sudden.
No, it's not.
Well, next week we'll talk about what happened. So, all right. Good enough for now. Tana, thanks for joining us. Enjoy sunny Texas because here it is cold today. So, anyways, everyone, let's pop up a banner. We'll be all legit here. Call us, 805-500-7035. Visit our main website, thelindgroup.com. Lind is Lynd. But hey, we're here to help. If you got questions about the show, if you would like us to talk about certain topics, if you want to answer some specific questions, we'd be happy to do that. But we're here to help you with retirement income planning. So never hesitate to reach out. And everybody have a great week and toodly woodly.